In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all. The title of this video is The Knowledge of the Quran and the Way of People. Now in this lecture I will show a comparison between the learning from the Quran, learning our knowledge from the Quran, and learning our knowledge as people are accustomed to by the way we have been taught in schools and universities. Now to start with the first point, the knowledge of the Quran, learning from the Quran. Now Allah the Almighty states in chapter 16 verse 89 of the Quran the following: "And the day when Allah God shall raise up from every nation a witness against them from amongst themselves, and Allah God shall bring you as a witness against these, and Allah God has sent down to you the book as a detailed explanation of everything, a guidance, a mercy, and glad tidings for those who have submitted themselves." So when you learn from the Quran, you have the following advantage: that you learn all the branches of knowledge essential for a person's life by pondering upon the verse of the Quran. This results in a balanced individual capable of acting positively in this life. Now the way people are accustomed to gaining knowledge, it's learning one specific branch of knowledge and ignoring all other branches. The result is an imbalanced individual not capable of functioning in this life. Let me give an example. Suppose that an engineer, he focuses, the way that people are accustomed to, that an engineer, he focuses his knowledge on engineering sciences, and he ignores other kind of branch of knowledge like knowing about psychology, about economics, about jurisprudence. And as a result, when he's faced with a problem in his life, he's not able to cope with it. And there are a lot of examples of this, that when a person has a narrowed kind of knowledge in a certain branch of knowledge, he's incapable of coping or dealing with other kind of situations in life. Now this is a disadvantage, a major disadvantage, because life contains all branches of knowledge, not one specific one. But in the Quran we can learn all the branches of knowledge: engineering, physics, jurisprudence, economics, everything. So when you learn from the Quran, you learn all of these kind of branches of knowledge, which results in a well-balanced individual. So that's one advantage of the Quran. And to know how to learn all the branches of knowledge from the Quran, please visit the following website, www.quran-miracle.com. In this website you will see how you can learn all of your knowledge, all branches of knowledge from the Quran in details. Another point of comparison, that from the Quran you learn correct knowledge from the first time. So what I mean by this is that when you learn something from the Quran, you can be rest assured that it is the truth, it's right. But the way people are, on the other hand, the way we are accustomed to learning knowledge, it's all based on trial and error. And it may be right, it may be wrong, maybe after some years another kind of theory will come forward and abolish the first one. So this is a major disadvantage in the way we are taught knowledge nowadays. Now, speaking of this, if we ponder upon verse number 1 of chapter 25 of the Quran, which reads, "Blessed is he who sent down the criterion to his slave, that he may be a warner to all that exists." So here Allah the Almighty is telling us that the Quran is the criterion, meaning that it distinguishes between right and wrong. So this means that when you learn something from the Quran, you can be rest assured it's correct from the first time. Now, so to say this in other words, that learning correct knowledge from the Quran from the first time, this results in eliminating errors and hardship, while the way of people is learning knowledge by a trial and error approach, which results in making mistakes and in hardship. Let me give an example for this to make it clearer. The topic of obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, it's a problem. Now, the way people tackle this problem is by trial and error solution, meaning they try, for example, pills, sedative pills, they try shock therapy sessions, psychiatric sessions. All of this is like a trial and error approach. It may work, may not work. And the result of this is that people are ending up worse than they started the therapy with. And these kind of sedative pills, they have so much kind of damage to the body, they cause so much damage to the body. So you can see the disadvantage of this and the problem in tackling this issue. While from the Quran, I talked about it in so many of my videos. Allah Almighty shows us the cause of obsessive compulsive disorder and how to cure it from the first time. You don't need to go and trial error solution. From the first time you can learn the truth about this matter. And to see the details of this, how to diagnose and cure obsessive compulsive disorder from the Quran, please visit my website at www.miracle-quran.com/clinic. This website shows how to learn the truth about obsessive compulsive disorder from the Noble Quran. From the first time, no guessing, no conjecture. Now the third point to talk about, the Quran being as one reference with no conflict. What I mean by this is that when you learn from the Quran, you learn from one source and doesn't contain any kind of contradictions. While the way of people of learning any kind of knowledge is that you study, for example, the book authored by X and the book authored by Y. And between X and Y, there are contradictions. And as a result, you as an individual, as a person, you become kind of confused. Where is the truth? Where lies the truth? Well, this problem doesn't exist in the Quran because you learn from one source with no contradictions. And speaking of which, if we ponder upon verse number 82 of chapter 4 of the Quran, which reads, "Do they not then ponder upon the Quran? Had it been from other than Allah God, they would surely have found therein many contradictions." So Allah Almighty is telling us here that there are no contradictions in the Quran because it's from Allah Almighty. And the advantage of this is that when you have one reference for any knowledge without any conflict or contradictions within it, you reduce hardship and wasting time and effort in addition to building certainty within a person. You become certain that this is the truth. But the way of people is that they learn knowledge from numerous sources containing contradictions. And the result of this is hardship and wasting a person's time and effort in addition to making a person uncertain. Now the fourth point is that the Quran contains the knowledge of this world and the hereafter. What I mean by this is that the way the people are taught in schools and universities, there are hardly no talking about the hereafter and about what will happen to a person after he dies. So the result of this is that a person becomes imbalanced, meaning that he thinks that this life is everything, and he becomes greedy and he wants everything in this life. And he commits crimes, he steals, he does all kind of bad things just to acquire what is this in this life. However, the one who thinks about the Quran and ponders upon the Quran, he learns the knowledge of the hereafter, day of judgment, heaven and hell. As a result of this, he becomes balanced, meaning that if he missed opportunity in this life, he knows if he's on the right track, Allah will give him this what he missed in the hereafter. And so the knowledge of the Quran that contains knowledge of the day of judgment and the hereafter, so this results in combining knowledge of this life and the hereafter, which results in a well-balanced individual. However, the way of people, no knowledge of the hereafter, which results in an imbalanced individual where this world overcomes the planning for the hereafter. And an example of which, if we ponder upon verse number 9 of chapter 35 of the Quran, which reads, "And it is Allah God who sends the winds so that they cause turbulence in the clouds, and Allah God drives them to a dead land, and revives with the earth after its death, as such the resurrection." So here Allah is telling us that He sends the winds, they cause turbulence in the clouds, and Allah drives them to a dead land, and revives the earth after its death. by growing vegetation in this land. And then Allah says, as such, the resurrection, that bringing the dead back to life will be like growing plants in a dead land. So you will grow in the Day of Judgment from the bone at the end of your spine, like plants exactly. And I showed this in details in the following web link. If you go to resurrection.miracle-quran.com, you will see the scientific mechanism on how Allah will bring the dead back to life. So, as I said, you have gained knowledge of the hereafter. As such, you will become a balanced individual. Your planning will be divided between this life and the hereafter. So we saw, brothers and sisters, from the Quran, the advantages of learning knowledge from the Quran compared to the way we have been taught. So please, let's learn our knowledge from the Quran, and you will become a balanced individual capable of producing so much in this life and the hereafter. And to know how to practice the Quran and to learn from the Quran, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zaidquran@yahoo.com, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all.